Tonight, we welcome in a man that arguably might be the biggest former Sam's Club associate ever. This former Badger knows how to market, write, edit, and produce content better than your daddy knows how to bring home the bacon. You knew him from RotoWire and now part of The Athletic and the Rates and Barrels podcast, the man with the voice of my dreams, Mr. Derek Van Riper. How's it going, man?
Going really well, David. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. It's probably the best intro anyone's ever given me, so thank you for that. It was very kind of you.
No, of course, man. You're the best that does it, and you're the host with the most. So I just wanted to try to get on par with you tonight if I could. But first, congratulations is in order, being one of the FSWA Best Baseball Podcast finalists, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to see new names on that list each and every year for finalists, for writing awards, for video awards, for podcast awards. This industry has grown so much since I started at RotoWire. I started there as an intern way back in 2005. So it's been a long time now, and I think the industry has exploded with talent, and it's great to see. It's fun to be on different shows. It's great to get to know new people. And very proud of my coworkers and the work we do just to even be a finalist for an award like that in a field that's just as loaded as ever.
And again, you guys are some of the best that do it, if not the best. And you set examples for pods like ours and others that are kind of trying to get our feet off the ground and get ourselves out there. You guys set a great example for us. So we truly appreciate, especially when someone like yourself comes on our shows and does this. It really means a lot to us and allows us to connect with people like yourself. So it's really awesome. And the one thing I did notice, you attended the University of Wisconsin, or have you heard of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, of course. It's probably the closest major university to where I went to high school. I went to high school in Waukesha, so about 20 minutes west of Milwaukee. So yeah, UWM, one of the biggest schools near where I grew up.
Because I remember them in the NCAA tournament and being one of those, I think they were like a 14 seed and they were one of those like popular upset picks. And when I saw your school, and then I think it's Wisconsin-Madison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, they have to be rivals or something. Does that not exist between the two schools?
The bigger rivalry for men's basketball is University of Wisconsin and Marquette. Wisconsin-Marquette's the big rivalry. Marquette doesn't play football, so it doesn't exist there. I'm surprised the UWM isn't a bigger rivalry. Some of the former Badger coaches have gone on to be head coaches there, and in those years, they'd make a point to play. Wisconsin-Green Bay is also D1 in men's basketball, so we see them a little bit too. Bo Ryan, who used to coach here, obviously was at Platteville, a really small school in western Wisconsin for a while, so you'd see like an early season kind of scrimmage against them, things like that. But yeah, I'm surprised UW-Milwaukee's sports aren't a bigger deal because it's a pretty big school in an area where there's plenty of talented athletes.
Yeah, for sure.
Kenosha needs their own team.
There you go.
You're pulling Wisconsin names out of a hat. You said is University of Wisconsin-Madison. That's just University of Wisconsin. That's the big one, David. You know that, right?
No, I didn't.
That's the big
a lot
one.
more.
That's like Big Ten football. That's Wisconsin-Madison.
Now I feel really stupid.
This is a good transition to talk about baseball to embarrassing yourself even more.
College sports not our forte.
They just literally say University of Wisconsin on TV, so I assumed that was Wisconsin and that this was a smaller school. Well, let's stop making me look like an idiot for a second. Let's talk about Triple Play Fantasies Outfield Part 2 preview before we head into 2021. I want to give an early look at every position and how we're going to rank them heading into next season. Using NFBC rankings from December 1st on as our template for these episodes, we're going to look at outfielders tonight, 31 through 50 and 51 through 75, ones we like and ones we don't like. And then we're going to also look 76 to 100 of a guy you can just snag later on that you can boast to your friends that you were all in on. So it should be a fun show. Without further ado, let's dive right in. And let's start in the 31 to 50 range on NFBC here. And Derek, you're the guest, so I would like to start with you. Who's someone in this range of outfielders that you are trying to target a lot in your drafts?
I think in the 31 to 50 range, hopefully by that point in the draft, I'm not necessarily chasing a category. Hopefully I've got a good foundation, power, and speed, and I'm really just looking for well-balanced players, guys who are just straight up undervalued. One guy that I keep gravitating toward in that range, I think 3 years running now, is Michael Brantley. We know he's staying in Houston. The situation is completely the same. The lineup maybe is slightly worse, of course, without George Springer, but they're going to replace him somehow. I don't think the current center fielder for the Astros is in the organization, so I think once they replace Springer, that lineup will look pretty good, if not very good. Brantley's one of those guys. He's a rare source of mid-round batting average. Run production is always there. He's a little bit light in power, but I kind of look at him as like a Jeff McNeil in the outfield, that kind of player where the power history is a bit more stable than it is with McNeil. So Brantley is one of those guys that I love as a absolute like cornerstone, just like easy mid-round guy that's not going to let me down. Probably a more polarizing guy that I get. If I am chasing speed there, I like Victor Robles. I still believe in Victor Robles. I know the StatCast numbers are awful, but he had awful StatCast numbers in 2019 when he gave us power and a good bit of speed as well. I think he can be a 15-homer, 25-steal player. I think he can do it without hurting you badly in batting average. And the thing that I like the most about Victor Robles, he's a good defender at one of the few positions where the Nationals care about defense. They care about defense up the middle and nowhere else. So his playing time should be very safe. I know he came into camp, summer camp 2.0, like 20 pounds heavier than he had been previously. The shortened season wreaked havoc on players for a number of different reasons. I think he comes back in 2021 ready to go, back closer to that previous weight, and as a nice value for us in that 31 to 50 range among outfielders.
He also doesn't have Adam Eaton there anymore. So that's one less outfielder he has to compete with for playing time, even if he's struggling a little bit. Andrew Stevenson was penciled in to start in the outfield before they got Schwarber. I don't know what they'll do if obviously the DH comes in there. I think he's got a secure path to playing time. So I really like that call. Doc, what about you? Who's the first guy you're looking at in this range?
So I'm going to stay with a Maryland team, and I'm going to go with Anthony Santander. So in 37 games last year, he had 261 with 11 homers and 32 RBIs. The 162 game pace would have been 48 homers and 139 RBIs. Now, would he have done that? Probably not. But in his 176 career games over 4 seasons, he's hit 252 with 32 homers and 99 RBIs. So for a full season, he's probably good for 25 plus home runs. He had a career high in walk rate, a career low in K rate. He increased his exit velocity. He upped his launch angle. He upped his barrel percentage. He upped his hard hit percentage. The AL East pitching sucks too. Besides Garrett Cole and maybe Tyler Glasnow, is there anybody that you're really scared of facing on a consistent basis? He plays in a hitter's park. Trey Mancini is back. I think he's someone, because he missed a lot of time with a wrist injury last year, that people forgot how good he was to start out. So I think at his draft position, he is a great value.
Is Hyun-Jin Ryu just nothing to you?
I've never been a big Ryu fan. I think he's okay, but I don't know. I never got into it.
Well, that's fine. More for us then. We'll take him. Cheesecake. What about you?
Well, I want to echo Derek's sentiments about Michael Brantley. He's someone who I've been taking in a lot of drafts. I love where he's fallen to, and I think now that he's re-signed, he's going to start creeping back up. I think he's going around pick 160 right now, which is a nice bargain on him because, like Derek said, he does have some sneaky power, and his projections, I think, are a little soft too, which might be holding down his draft price. Someone else I really like at this range is Jorge Soler. If you really need power at this range, as I said on the last episode, Soler to me is like Teoscar Hernandez with a little less speed, but who just had a poor sample size in 2020, while Teoscar had a good sample size in 2020. The power is still in there in that bat, that 40 home run power. I think Soler is a nice pick around 144 where you can get some real premier power. And just bank that. I think he's good for 20 to 30 and perhaps spiking more than 30.
No, Soler is a great call there as well. I was thinking about picking him as my guy. Like you said, people forget all the power he has, but his hard hit percentages and all his hard hit numbers are still very much intact. You have to think that turns around.
48 homers in 2019 led all of Major League Baseball. So the power is there.
Yeah, the guy I'm going to bring up, Art, for you, and I'm not going to be this long on all the players I talk about, but I wrote an article on Ian Happ a couple months ago, and I'm really in on Ian Happ for this coming year. And if you look at the differences versus the fastball, which is what he really struggled with when he first kind of in 2019, when he was kind of trying to establish himself, and to 2020 is staggering as a major leaguer. Obviously seeing that pitch the most. He went from batting 171 and slugging 402 against it to 305 and 610 in 2020. His expected stats weren't far off from the actual numbers, which helps it make it realize that this is for real and this isn't something that could regress necessarily. But other than that, Hap also dramatically decreased his launch angle from 22 to 11. I think 22 is a little bit too much, which kind of put a little too much loop in his swing. And that helped not only up his exit velocity, but he cut 8% off of his under percentage, popping the ball up in the air, had a nice solid line drive swing. If you look at the playing time next year, Roster Resource has the Cubs outfield as Ian Happ, Nico Horner, and Jason Hayward. And Albert Amora is the only other guy I think even remotely close to that roster that might even get into the outfield mix right now. So there's not like there's anybody breathing down his neck at the moment for playing time. And he's not only done better with the fastball, but also his K rate, maintaining a decent walk rate as well. He struck out an insane 36% of his at-bats in 2018 and carried over into the first half of 2019 when he got demoted. But since then, he's dramatically changed his approach and cut his strikeout rate to sub 28% each of the last 2 seasons, and the second highest walk rate of his career in 2020 at 13%. I think this is a big sign of him seeing the ball better, choosing better times to swing the bat, and I'm just very much in on him. And if you read the article I have on Ian Happ, you'll see there was a huge part after September 3rd when he got hit in the eye with a ball that his numbers just plummeted. I think that actually stemmed from that, and I'm more encouraged from what I saw from him before he got hit by the ball in the eye than after. So very much in on Ian Happ.
I wish I could show this to David from 2 years ago. I took Ian Happ in our draft, and I remember David going, "What a waste of a pick." He sucks.
Changed. I mean, he did suck then, so times change. But let's go to the other side here, and let's talk about guys we're fading in the 31 to 50 range. Derek, who's somebody that you're happy to let someone else take off your hands?
Yeah, 31 to 50 range. I'm not really going after Tommy Edman. I know flexibility is great. Eligible at second, third, short, in the outfield. I think we may have seen the best per game production that we're ever going to get from Tommy Edman in his debut in 2019. I don't think he's a bad player. I just think people are overpaying for what they saw in that debut. I see him as more of a glue guy for the Cardinals who could be susceptible to losing playing time for stretches depending on how that roster comes together. You could do worse with that pick. I think it's really more of a comparative value sort of issue for me. I like a guy like Ramon Laureano a few spots later, even though Edman is going to be better in batting average. I think Laureano gives you more power, maybe similar speed, and you're just not worried about playing time because similar to Robles, Ramon Laureano is a great defender. He's going to be out there each and every day, even if he's having some trouble at the plate. So I would say that Edman's probably my biggest fade in that range. If he fell, I'm not afraid to take him. I've also been, so far at least, avoiding Ryan Mountcastle. Maybe one of you guys can talk me into him. I think for all the reasons we like Anthony Santander, we should like Ryan Mountcastle, but I don't see it. I think he's one of those guys that he doesn't walk enough. He's maybe going to take a step forward with the K rate and deliver a decent batting average, but I could see playing time becoming an issue. I know there's pedigree there. He's always been a hit tool and power first prospect. His defense and his arm are the tools that drag him down, but I find myself always chasing somebody else in that range. So for reasons I can't even fully define, I seem to be avoiding Ryan Mountcastle in this range.
I'm right there with you, Derek. One of the things I looked at his profile that he had a 398 BABIP this past season. That's Steamer has him projected at around 320. So that alone is probably going to bring down his 333 batting average to his probably closer to his 278 career minor league batting average. And he doesn't have any speed, not consistent hitting around him. And there's no veteran presence around there either to kind of help. I think if he's struggling to talk him through things, they're a very young team. I think he's just going in a range right now where you didn't see those growing pains from him last year because it was such a small sample size, like a full 162 game season grind. He goes through that 0 for 21 stretch. How does he recover from that? No, I think Derek, you're right on with that. I mean, I can't touch him at his price. I think that's a good call. Cheesecake, what about you?
All love to our boy Bat Flip Crazy, who coined the Will Myers and Chill t-shirt. extravaganza that all should buy in on. But Will Myers at pick 130 is a person who I'm starting to fade. I think that when you look at what Will Myers did in 2020, his barrel rate 14.8, 8.9% is his career. His XBA 285. 253 is his career. His X slug 588. He has a 453 career. His WOBA was 393. His career is 337. His X WOBA was 377. Career 340. I mean, Myers 3-4 seasons ago was a 5-tool, well, 4-tool. His batting average has never been that great. But he was a 4-tool master, but then he had a few seasons of injury. And I think that 20 looked like, oh, he's bouncing back, but it was just the short sample size. It was, well above career norms and all of these sort of StatCast metrics. I think the projections on him are being very generous right now. I think the bat projects a career year for him. Depth charts is too much as well. Can you really project 600 plate appearances for Will Myers this season? I have a hard time with that. I think Zips hits it right with their 511 plate appearance projection, but they have him going 25 home runs and 12 stolen bases in that with a 249 batting average. I think that is a projection, but I also think that, the last season was the best season he's had in a long time. And I think there's some regression coming, even in that great lineup. They have plenty of ways they can go, places they can go, other players they can play if he slumps. Not that I predict that he'll get taken out, but I do think that it's possible the injury bug hits him again and the performance is not up to what it was in 2020. So Will Myers is who I'm fading in this range.
Cheesecake, do you think that he's getting bumped up so much because the Padres offense itself is just getting bumped up? So every single player in that offense, they're going to produce so much. If you're in that lineup, I'm automatically bumping you up around type of deal.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad strategy. Draft from good lineups. That's one of the reasons why I'm high on Trent Grisham, because he's supposed to be hitting atop that Padres lineup. And the Padres, I think, were the second or third best run scoring offense in all of baseball last season. So I like it, but I also think, there's a bit of a Padre bump this year, and as well as a Dodger bump that I've been starting to see.
That's fair. That's fair. A couple comments coming in. DVR, the man, smoothest voice in the business. I completely agree. Our guy Breeze checking in here. What's up, man? Derek, we have we made a little side bet before I get to the Doc's answer. He says Trent Grisham is going to have a better year than Teoscar Hernandez. I'm curious, are you on the Teoscar side with me, or are you on the Trent Grisham side with Cheesecake?
I'm on Cheesecake side of this.
No!
I am little bit careful with Teoscar Hernandez. I think if you look at him compared to Lourdes Gurriel, you see more raw power from Hernandez. There's a little bit of speed. There's a few ways he can still kind of hold his own, but you have to wonder if everything went right for Hernandez in the shortened season. I think with Grisham, we're seeing a player who's always had really interesting plate skills going back to his time, even in the low minors. When he first started out as a prospect, Trent Grisham was this guy that went the opposite way, probably too much. So he was showing no power. Clearly, he has learned how to pull the ball as he's moved to the upper levels in the minors and what we saw last season in San Diego. So I'm Grisham over Teoscar Hernandez. And I think both of those teams have pretty crowded depth charts. I think Grisham is a lot less likely to lose playing time. I mean, I'm worried about that with Will Myers a little bit too. I think that projection from the bat is just too heavy, in part because of the playing time, but also because I'm not sure that 18 steals is something we're going to get from Will Myers anymore too. With Grisham, love the OBP. I think there's a really good chance he stays near the top of that lineup. I think you're getting a good power speed mix. With Teoscar, I think you have a slightly more easy to find skill set as you move through the middle rounds.
Derek, I thought we were friends. I'm very disappointed right now.
Did you guys ever say what the loser's punishment was?
Yeah, you changed the other person's Twitter picture for a week.
Okay. All right, that's right. That's right.
Doc, go ahead. Pick your guy.
So I'm going to stick with the theme of Tommies and with Padres players and combine that with Tommy Pham.
There you go. Good transition.
Thank you. The 31th ranked outfielder, ADP 121. That is way too rich for me. Starting with his off-the-field issue, he got stabbed in a brawl in October, and there hasn't been much of an update. I know that the stabbing wasn't too bad. It did draw some blood. But when I see something that goes on in somebody's personal, no, I'm going somewhere with this.
Go ahead.
Think about Ben Zobrist with his divorce. He essentially missed all of last season.
No, I'm just wondering how a stabbing could not be that bad.
The way you're describing it.
Okay. I'm talking about in terms of actually the impact on his body long term. It's not something he was in the hospital for weeks or months or even days. But when there's an off-field issue like that, even though he hasn't been charged with anything, I worry about if that's going to take away from his MLB career. The Padres gave him a 1-year, $8.9 million deal, which I think was more of okay, we'll give you 1 year to prove it. I don't think they believe in him long-term, and I think that shows that he's not a lock to play every day, especially with that stacked lineup. He had a broken left wrist in 2020, so I'll be interested to see how he bounces back from that because he's going to be 33 when the season starts. Are you going to expect him to steal 25 plus bases like he has in the past? I don't really see that speed being there. His batting average, on base percentage, and slugging percentage has dropped the last 3 years. So speed was really his calling card. He's never had a high launch angle or barrel percentage. And I don't think he's guaranteed to play every day. So I think he's a good hitter, but I don't think he's going to win you any category like he did in the past.
It's fair. I mean, again, same thing with all the Padres hitters. I think they're going a little higher with the Padre tax. There's no more Dodger tax. It's Padre tax now. So do what you will with it. But yeah, I think you have to decide. You look at their numbers. Hey, in the short sample size, and if you look at their age, are they going to repeat the production that you've seen from them? So well said there. Let's move.
Wait, can you show our comment real quick before you talk with yours?
Oh, just another wrong comment here.
Trent Grisham, baby. I think I have to be on the Trent Grisham side as well.
No, I don't. We're not on the Trent Grisham side. I have hair plugs.
Is that someone you know, or is this
someone that works?
Okay.
It's someone that works works with me at my school. It's funny. All right, so let's move though to let's go to someone we like in the 51 to 75 range. So now this is getting a little interesting here. So Derek, let's bring his weird doc back on track here. Derek, who in this range do you really like?
I have been chasing Kyle Schwarber's cheap power production pretty much forever, and he's coming off a really disappointing shortened season. He's getting a pretty big park upgrade, leaving Wrigley. I mean, we know the wind blows in at Wrigley more than it blows out, makes it more of a pitcher's park in general. And Nats Park is quietly one of the best places for a power hitter. I mean, the heat is a major factor throughout the summer. I think we are going to see Schwarber make another run into the high 30s with his home run total. I mentioned this kind of in passing earlier. The Nats just don't care about defense anywhere except up the middle. I'm not really worried about him losing time. I think they brought him in to really be part of that left field, probably DH mix too. And I mean, look, even if they don't have universal DH this year, I think they will. I think Schwarber's playing time is well over 500 plate appearances. He will get to 30 home runs if he stays healthy over 500 plate appearances. Run production should be good too. It's still a very good Nats lineup that he joined. And he's kind of part of the reason. Like I mentioned Teoscar Hernandez before and some things I don't necessarily like about him. Yeah, you're going to get a handful of bags from him. You're not going to really get bags from Schwarber. But that low average, good OBP, big power sort of skill set that Schwarber brings a lot later is part of the reason why I don't go after Teoscar Hernandez, inside that top 75, top 80 overall where he often goes.
That's interesting. I think, Derek, you and Cheesecake must have been talking before the show because he actually, I think, also likes Schwarber a lot in this range too. You guys were on Brantley, now Schwarber. Cheesecake, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I mean, well, Schwarber's. I just drafted Schwarber in the Bubba's Best Ball draft that we're in, but I love him. Of course, watched him in Chicago, and the skills are still there. The max exit velocity's still there. I want to shine a little light on AJ Pollock, a guy who I think suffers from the same sort of concerns that pulled me off of Will Myers' 80 picks earlier. Well, I'm on Pollock here at this point because the injury concerns that Pollock has are similar to the ones that Myers have. Pollock has not really played a full season since 2016 or 2017 when he went 20 home runs, 39 steals. But in 2020, Pollock came out and played almost a full season. I think he played 54 games, 16 home runs was on pace for 90 runs and 100 RBIs over the course of a full season, just to give you some context. So I think someone like Pollock, who's going to be hitting 5th or 6th in that potent Dodgers lineup, going around 210, maybe you spike a healthy season for him. And if not, maybe you get 120 games where you're putting him on your bench, but he's always been good when he's played. He just hasn't played a lot. But if you get 120 games out of him, you have him on the DL maybe, or you have him on your bench and you sub in someone else, you're substituting some production if he goes down. And he's not hurting you as much 80 picks after Will Myers.
Cheesecake, are you worried because the Dodgers like to rotate a lot of guys in and out of their lineup? You know, I know that they obviously with their pitching rotation, but they have a lot of guys that can hit on their team too. Like, you know, the Matt Beatties of the world, Edwin Rios, you know, is going to get at bats, which might shift other guys around. Are you worried that take the injuries out of it, that Pollock, I know I don't have it at the top of my head. I think he struggled mightily versus same side pitching, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Do you worry that they're going to platoon him in any way?
I don't have much of a worry about that. They didn't platoon him in 2020. I know that Jock Peterson is now looking like he's going to be gone. So there's one less outfielder there. I think that, you know, he's going to. I think he's going to play if he's healthy. And they will platoon in another position perhaps. But he looked all the part of a everyday regular in you.
All right, agree. Let's go to Doc. What about you?
Well, so it's funny. I actually had Kyle Schwarber as my guy. I don't know how you messed that up.
I did mess that up. It should have been you that I went to. That's fine. Derek's just like this dude's just messing up everything. I'm never coming back here.
Yeah, I mean Derek and Eric. It must be that suffix, the Eric.
There you go.
That's really big on him. I haven't been burned by Kyle Schwarber personally, so he's still good in my books. But he was on pace for 29 home runs in 2020. But I look at it was a bad year for him otherwise. His batting average was 188. His career average is 230. He had a 308 on base percentage. He has a 336 for his career. And he slugged 393 and his career average is 480. So drastically low for a lot of those. He's going to be 28 when the season starts. And I think maybe some players just need a new change of scenery. It seems like the Cubs have kind of been tanking for the last year, couple of years, getting rid of Joe Maddon and Theo Epstein, now kind of shopping their players. So I like what the Nats have done. They've done some cheap transactions getting Schwarber and Josh Bell. I think that lineup is actually decent now.
I mean, if you're assuming they both have bounce back years, that's the key thing is Schwarber and Bell have to produce somewhat near what they've been able.
But I like the players that are hitting around them. Roto Champ has Trey Turner hitting 1, Schwarber hitting 2, Soto 3, Josh Bell 4, Starlin Castro 5. That's not a bad 1 through 5.
Yeah, what's their 6 through 9? That's the part I'm concerned about.
Jan Gomes isn't bad.
Is your 6 hitter?
Give me Jan. I'll take Jan.
Andrew Stevenson, who they had hitting 1 like 2 weeks ago.
There you go. That's all I need to say. So I'm interested. How do you guys feel about Alex Kirilloff? Because he had his bat X projection 270, 14 homers, 60 RBIs. He's a career 317 hitter in the minors. Stole 7 bases in 2019, even though he got caught 6 times. But maybe he'll steal a couple bags. He makes a lot of consistent hard contact, hit the ball to opposite field just as well as pulling the ball. And he's going to get a lot of playing time for the Twins. Derek, is that somebody that you think you might be in on?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason they didn't want to pay Eddie Rosario was they have a lot of faith in Kirilloff taking over a spot. They got another guy, Trevor Larnach, not far away from contributing too. So we'll see if he gets an opportunity, which I think is more likely if Nelson Cruz doesn't stay in Minnesota. But I do think at the price, Kirilloff is worth going after. I think when you have guys that come through the minor leagues that tear the cover off the ball at every level, never really show any strikeout issues, show at least a little bit of patience. I mean, we're not talking about a 10+% walk rate guy. We're looking more at like 7 to 8% in his good stops in the minors. He should transition pretty quickly to the big leagues. If he's hitting 5th or 6th in that Twins lineup especially, the counting stats should be there. Anytime you're talking about a player, a first-year player, the downside range usually includes getting option to AAA for a while. I would say that's definitely true, especially for a guy that hasn't played at that level before. But I do like Alex Kirilloff where he's going. It all comes down to roster construction and roster management. If you take a guy like that as your 5th outfielder, you do want to find someone for your bench who is stable as a source of playing time just to kind of replace him, especially in deeper leagues. And you want to make sure you don't have a lot of other guys who are in the same position of possibly getting bumped off the roster with a slow start to begin the season, too. You can only have, one or two guys in your active lineup who could get optioned early in a deep league, especially. In a shallow league, maybe you can be a little more aggressive.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. I think. Go ahead, Doc.
I was going to say, let's not forget Byron Buxton is going to get hurt at some point in the season. It's not a if, it's a when.
Yeah, as a Twins fan, I definitely know that all to be true. Let's go to the ones we're fading.
Can I just really quickly? I was not prepared when you asked, but I did look up the Dodgers' current depth chart. Their backup outfielders are DJ Peters, Zach McKinstry, and Matt Beattie. I think that looking at their backups right now does help solidify Pollock in my viewpoint. Just wanted to point that out.
Good job pointing that out, Cheesecake.
No problem.
Way to strengthen
that's
your
what we're
argument.
here for. That's what we're here for.
I like that. Let's go to outfielders 51 through 75 that you are legit fading. Derek, obviously we're kind of at this point in the draft, it's not as much of a risk as taking a guy early, but there's still maybe guys that you're just not sold on. So who in this range, again, are you kind of like not sold on them? I'll happily just pass them off and move on.
It's actually the first guy in this range, Clint Frazier. It's not because of anything about Frazier that I don't like skills-wise. I mean, I'm a little worried about his defense always being something that can take away his playing time. But even if Brett Gardner doesn't go back to the Yankees, they have a crowded outfield situation. Aaron Hicks is obviously going to play. Aaron Judge is obviously going to play. Mike Tauchman is good enough to push Clint Frazier for at least a share of the playing time. And that's if they literally don't add anybody else in the outfield. They got a couple of interesting guys battling for jobs. Greg Allen could be a nice bench piece. Socrates Brito is sort of interesting. And they've had some success in player development with cast-offs from other teams in that situation, right? We've seen Gio Urshela really have a breakout with the Yankees. Even Luke Voigt, after they acquired him from the Cardinals, really took a step forward. So I just look at Frazier and think, in the overall top 200, it's too steep for a guy that probably isn't going to give me a lot of batting average, should give me some power, doesn't steal a ton of bases, and could lose playing time because of his defense. And it would help him so much if they didn't have Stanton locked in to be the everyday DH. Like, we know Stanton's got a pretty extensive injury history, but it just leaves Frazier with a really narrow path to holding an everyday job if he even gets the chance to have one at the beginning of the season. So just based on price, I have to stay away from Frazier right now.
Derek, is this the year that Clint Frazier is finally freed? Is it the year?
Nope, I don't think so. They got several years of control left, and they like him as a bench guy, or as a part-time guy. So I think that's what we're left to deal with.
We need to make a hashtag that doesn't already exist. Hashtag free Frazier, because it's like there was the free Aaron Jones, free Clint Frazier hashtag. Let's get it going. Cheesecake, who's the guy that you're looking at in this range?
Yasiel Puig is going at 244. For me, that is still too steep of a price for a person who didn't play at all in 2020 and isn't currently on a team. There was a recent conference call where he said he's ready to change after there was criticism of his maturity, and that he will start to listen to coaches now. And I think that's just super that he's going to start to listen to coaches now.
Hilarious.
But who's going to sign him? Atlanta signed him in the summer. Do they still have an eye on him? Miami might be able to fit him into their outfield. I know they had some interest in him last summer, but where else really has interest in him? Cleveland does not look like they're looking to sign anyone, or like they're wanting to compete at all. Other places that are, potential needs, teams that are rebuilding. I don't see him as a great fit when they could possibly put in a younger player that they might be trying to develop. And then you look when he does sign, if he does sign, Puig is a person who's only ever been to 600 plate appearances twice in his career. And the projections show that he's not going to get there. The projections say that he'll get in the mid 300s. So, that career OPS of 823 is really nice. And the skills he brings when he plays, this is Yasiel Puig is a player who I thought might become the best player in all of baseball his rookie season as he developed, but he really hasn't developed. And a lot of it has been that maturity, but now he's going to listen to coaches. So, I should I should let him give a second chance, but I'm not going to have him on my team to get that second chance. Hopefully he signs somewhere and proves me wrong though.
Do you know
guys
who his
remember?
agent is?
Rachel Luba.
It's a weekly Luba shout out.
Bold prediction. She's waiting until a team is waiting to sign Trevor Bauer and Puig. They come in a package deal.
No chance. No chance. But we'll
That'd
say,
be
go ahead. We can
wild
stay
if
with you.
those guys were in the same place. Like, yeah,
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
She only represents people with personality.
There you go.
Bauer could throw at someone's head, and then Puig could take on the entire team. It would be perfect.
Yeah, maybe it's not as crazy as we think. Go ahead, Doc. Who's your guy?
So for me, it's Andrew McCutchen, and I feel bad because I like him and Tommy Pham as players. They have a lot of personality, but I don't like him going outfield 54, ADP 202. The last 4 seasons, his WAR has dropped from 3.7, 2.7 to 1.5 to negative 0.2. He's not giving you the batting average anymore. In the last 5 seasons, he hasn't hit above 280. And in fact, 4 of those last 5 seasons, he's hitting under 260. His walk rate dropped dramatically from 16.4% to 9.1%. And that's not uncommon for players as they get older because your hand-eye coordination gets worse. And in a sport like baseball where you're seeing 90-plus mile per hour pitches, sometimes that can happen drastically. He was on pace for 8 stolen bases last year, and I'd say that's his ceiling. If he played a full season, he's not going to give you that steal upside. So what are you going to get from him? Maybe 10 to 15, maybe 18-plus homers, but I don't think he's going to give you 20 consistently. I think he's a great ball player and somebody that you want to have in your clubhouse and a veteran presence, but somebody that's going to give you those counting stats. I think those best days are over for him.
Hating on the older guys. Being real mean tonight, but I'll go with a younger guy in that range, and that's Austin Hayes. And maybe you guys see something I don't. So if you guys see something that you think I'm wrong about with him, but I looking at his StatCast page, name a stat to not be impressed with. His walks were under league average, less than league average barrel percentage, launch angle, exit velocity, X slug, X WOBA, hard hit percentages. His XBAs showed regression against all the pitches he faced, and he had a 42.9% whiff rate on breaking balls this past season. So the league kind of sees that stuff, and I'm sure they'll adjust the next year if they see he has problem with breaking balls. His ground ball percentage also jumped to nearly 50%. Line drive percentage under league averaged. And again, there's nothing in his profile. Doesn't hit the ball very hard at all. I don't think there's anything about him. For him going this early, there's nothing to me that says this guy needs to be on my team. So I'm glad we can all agree. No Austin Hayes for us.
I think he's interesting based on tools. I mean, I think you're buying into a level that he's never been able to deliver at the big league level. He hasn't had that many opportunities to play. It was late season call up in 2019, a really late season call up in 2017, injuries in between, and then a shortened season last year. It's kind of now or never time. He should have every opportunity to hold down a regular job there. But there are definitely some concerns. And yeah, if you're using StatCast as the primary lens to look at Austin Hayes, you're just not going to bother with him at that price.
I seem to have a somewhat of a blind spot to players who have very little major league track record, and because of that, I mostly avoid them. So guys like Kirilloff and Hayes, when they break out, I usually miss them. So that's something I'm trying to work on to get to know these guys better, and to learn when you can trust them. But these young guys, to me, are so volatile. What you might get from them, that's one of the reasons why I often just stay away from them.
That's fair. I mean, it definitely could be a strat. I think for me, Kirilloff is because I'm a Twins fan, so I've been very familiar with what he's been doing, but I could see it for ones that you're not as familiar with.
Well, I looked him up when you said you liked him, and they do have him projected with everyday at bats right now. So as long as Cruz doesn't get re-signed, I think, as Derek did say.
Well, again, Rosario's not there too. So Rosario, he would take Rosario's spot. But let's get to the last guy of the night that we're going to talk about. And that's somebody that's basically a dart throw outside the top 75, 76 to 100. Derek, this is somebody that you think, hey, I'm going to try to snag at the end of my draft. Somebody I believe in can outperform what they're at right now. Who's that guy?
I'm actually here for an Oscar Mercado bounce back. I think there were reasons to be careful where he was going in drafts last year. He wasn't a hard avoid, though, for me. I had him a few places, and clearly everything went wrong. The hitting coach was actually away from the team. for Cleveland in 2020. I think that had an impact on some players there. This is a team that's pinching pennies harder than just about any team in the league right now. Oscar Mercado is going to get another chance to be the regular center fielder in Cleveland. There's a little bit of power. There's some speed. There were pretty interesting on-base skills in the upper levels of the minor leagues. We saw that when he debuted in 2019. We're talking about almost pick 400 overall. So one of the very last players on your roster, an easy player to drop and swap out for someone else on the waiver wire a couple weeks into the season if he's not playing enough, or if he gets off to a slow start and you want to just turn that roster spot over to somebody else. So I just think, look, he's still young enough where we don't want to judge any player based on the debacle that was the 2020 Major League season. If you liked him at all going into last season, you should love him at this price as a possible bounce back candidate just on principle.
And all those stolen bases he can provide for you that late too. I mean, that alone is valuable. I agree 100%. Doc, what about you? Who's your late round dart throw?
Yeah, Derek, great pick. And especially you mentioned where he's falling this year. I think he's a bargain. For me, it's Mitch Haniger. And I know that the durability is a big concern, but I think it kind of stems from one injury. So in June 2019, he ruptured his testicle.
We're very familiar with that, yes.
We've all been hitting the balls, and we know it hurts like crazy. I can't imagine actually rupturing a testicle. But what happened was he tore his adductor muscle recovering from it. And then in August of the following year, he herniated a disc in his back, trying to return too quickly. And he took all of 2020 off to heal. But in 2018, when he played 157 games, his triple slash was 285, 366, and 493, with 26 homers, 93 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases. He finished 11th in the MVP voting. He was off to a good start in 2019. He was on pace for 38 homers before the injury. Once again, was he going to hit that? Probably not, but somebody that's shown that he can hit 25-plus home runs. Each year with the Mariners, his walk rate, his launch angle, his barrel percentage has gone up, and he's projected to hit 5th behind Kyle Lewis, who's projected to hit 3rd with a 364 on-base percentage, and Kyle Seager, who has a 355 on-base percentage. So he might have more opportunities with runners on base to provide more RBIs.
Yeah, I mean, I think also it's format context here. I think if you're in a best ball or like an NFBC draft, a lot of times there's a lot more risk for injuries. You can't put those guys on your roster that have those much injury question marks. But I think if you're in more of a season-long league where you can take that gamble, I think that's definitely a good call. Cheesecake, who's your last guy?
Aaron Hicks is my last guy. When you're drafting these late outfielders, opportunity to play and lineup context is really hard to come by. You're trying to get guys who you're hoping to get 500 plate appearances and hit at the top of a lineup. And Aaron Hicks does all of that, and he does it with the Yankees. Now there's a massive injury risk with Hicks. He seems to get injured most every season. He did have a healthy 2018 where he hit 27 home runs and had great counting stats. But 19 was another injury plagued season. In 20, he was mostly healthy, but his performance wasn't that great. But I'll tell you this, and take my word for it, the Yankees still trust him. He's still going to be going out there for him. He's like I said, he's only 31 years old. He's projected to hit 3rd in that Yankee lineup, and if you spike health, I think this is a guy who has, a great background as a prospect and has produced in the bigs before. His walk rate is fantastic. So he's going to be getting on base. It's a lot of run scoring and a lot of RBI opportunities as if you spike that health. And he's going currently around 285. I've picked him as high as 250 myself. I really like the opportunity that you get with him of getting someone with all those counting stats at power at this late point.
Yeah, I don't remember if I heard you say this or not, that he's supposed to hit 3rd or projected to hit 3rd. So yeah, I mean that he sits 3rd in that lineup, that alone is worth it. He's shown he can produce when he's healthy. So I like that call. If we're sticking with a guy that hasn't shown he can be healthy again, seems like that's a theme right now. Adam Eaton, I think back in with the White Sox, roster resource has him hitting 2nd in a stacked White Sox lineup. He also, looking into his Fangraphs page, he had a 260 BABIP this year and had never gotten below 294 and had been very much in the 300s for the rest of his career. That 294 was his first 2 years with the D-backs. He's not going to hit the ball hard, but he's going to give you double-digit steals, a lot of runs, doesn't strike out a ton, gives you some good amount of walks. And I think this is a guy, he has a healthy line drive rate at 26%, and he's going to see a lot of pitches in that lineup. I think this is somebody that is going to give you a very good stability type of pick here. You could be your fifth outfielder, and you can feel good about it as long as he's healthy. I think he's going to give you a lot of good counting stats. So little guy you could snag right there.
Hey, David, do you want to make a friendly bet off the air that I don't think Adam Eaton hits double-digit steals if he's healthy?
How many games would that require?
That's why I was saying we can do it off air. We can figure it out.
Yeah, we could figure that out. Derek's on the show and we're doing all these bets. I don't know what it is, Derek. You're just bringing this all out of us right now. But
glad I'm
great
a positive
discussion.
influence on you guys.
Great discussion with the players, guys. Let's move next to our question of the week. And that is sponsored by Shady Rays. And I got to know, what do you like to wear when it's sunny? When you're playing baseball, trying to hit a home run off of Derek Von Riper. What about playing poker or even podcasting? That's right. You wear shades because you're tired of getting ones that don't work or that make you look totally unfab. Shady Rays is here to change that, as they want you to own the best quality, most polarizing, and most affordable shades that you can wear for any occasion. Whether your sunglasses break, get scratched, lost, or broken by a foul ball, they replace that good old thing for you. For every order placed, Shady Rays donates 10 meals to Feeding America and have over 13 million donated meals to date. And if you like what you're hearing, use code TRIPLEPLAY at checkout and you get 25% off your order, which excludes just the RX series. And again, for the people that did not hear me, 25% off your entire order using the code TRIPLEPLAY. Don't throw shade. Instead, wear them and use Shady Rays. So
that was great. David, you should send that slogan to them.
Yeah, maybe they'll adopt it and give us a lifetime supply. We'll see. But our question of the week: what is the most memorable home run of your lifetime? Very loaded question. Derek, you're the guest. I'd like to start with you. What is your pick?
Sure. So the Brewers made the playoffs for the first time in my lifetime in 2008. I became a Brewers fan after moving to Wisconsin 10 years before that. They were bad pretty much every year until about 2004, 2005. Like once Prince and Corey Hart and Ricky Weeks, J.J. Hardy, at least they became watchable when those guys arrived, right? So the immediate home run that comes into my mind is in 2008. Ryan Braun hit a home run that broke a tie. It was late in the season against the Cubs. I think it was the last day of the season he actually hit it. Ripped one into the left field bleachers at Miller Park. It's just burned into my memory. It's an iconic home run in Brewers history. They got knocked out of the playoffs by the Phillies like a week later. It was the first time I'd ever been to a playoff game, though. So like that moment, that Braun home run, making me realize that I, as a Brewers fan, could actually experience playoff baseball. That was a huge home run for me just as a fan of the game. So probably a big one for Brewers fans and one that just about everybody else on the planet has forgotten about over the last 12 years or so.
So wait, that was the same year that CeCe got traded to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
From in the was that the Matt Laporta trade?
Matt Laporta,
the Matt
Laporta and
Laporta
Brantley.
trade.
Yeah, Brantley was their player in that deal. I think he was a player to be named later, maybe.
You're right. I think I do remember seeing that now.
Wow.
It's a pretty good trade.
But everybody wanted Laporta, so the fact that Brantley ended up being good was just Cleveland getting a little bit lucky and selling something out of that deal.
I think I saw Matt Laporta as like a politician now or something. It's pretty wild.
Is it the same Matt Laporta?
I think so. Yeah. I saw he has like a Twitter, and it's like old like baseball player, current politician, or something like that. Nice. He's in a suit and everything. It's kind of interesting. Doc, what's your pick?
Well, just throwing out another throwback Brewer named Casey McGee, 1 year wonder. But mine, as a Nationals fan, how can you say anything besides Howie Kendrick, Game 7 against the Astros? I feel guilty because I've used this, and I had another one in case somebody took that. But that, for me, as a Nationals fan, it's going to be hard for anything to top that.
That's fair. He actually had 2 home runs you could have used, because the one to beat the Dodgers too was also pretty.
The one to beat the Dodgers, but I'll never forget watching that clang off the right field post. I mean, think about an opposite field home run to break a tie.
I think it's called a pole.
Whatever.
Go ahead, Cheesecake.
The biggest home run of my lifetime was Joe Carter hitting the home run off of Mitch Williams to win the 1993 World Series. One of the best calls in the history. of sports, the announcer says, "Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life." What a fantastic call. What a fantastic moment. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention that, watching that with Mitch Williams, who I'm a Cubs fan. I remembered him from his days with the Cubs. And like the fact that he became the GOAT after that home run to Joe Carter. I mean, it was a cultural moment to have that home run. But for me, as a Cubs fan, I'm just going to go personal here. Javi Baez's solo home run off Johnny Cueto in the 8th inning of Game 1 of the NLDS, to me, was the most memorable home run. The Cubs had the best season they've had my entire lifetime in 2016. We get into the playoffs against a Giants team that had won every even year World Series since 2010, and it's another even year, and it's 0-0. And you know, as a Cubs fan, that dread settles in that this is going to happen again. We have a really good team, and we're going to come and just whimper going quietly into the night, like with our tail between our legs, like we've done every time. And Cueto, with his funky pitching style, quick pitches Javi, and Javi just jacks it, and he admires it so well. And just like Derek said, it got caught up in the wind. And it was this towering home run that would have been out onto the street in a normal day. But the wind caught it up, and it ends up going into what I have termed the Sandberg baskets of Wrigley Field, where like 5 or 6 of Sandberg's home runs this season just barely get into these little baskets that are right on the outfield. Anyone who's been to Wrigley Field knows what I'm talking about. And the place goes crazy, and you know, the entire stadium let out the sigh of relief that Cubs fans across the world were feeling in that moment. And that to me, I'll never forget that home run.
I think you should write a novel on that home run.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad I wasn't the only one thinking that.
Poor Derek has to hear that. But you could tell the passion in your voice, though, so I like it. So I live in the Washington area, but so seeing that Kendrick home run probably is going to be it, just because I root for them, and since if the Twins aren't in it. And if you look at the Twins, they haven't won a playoff game in 18 straight games, and haven't won a playoff series since I first became a fan. And their biggest win in the history since I've watched them is game 163 against the Tigers back, I think it was 2010. And that was a small ball game. That wasn't even a home run. So I don't have much to draw from here. So I would probably say just living in the Maryland, DC area, that seeing that Kendrick home run just and the way that everyone in this area just erupted and how crazy it was, I'll probably have to agree with the doc on that one.
You gonna help contribute to art on that novel, David?
That was not nearly as long. Stop that. Stop that. All right, let's move to the last part of the show.
Shout out Taylor.
And that's going to be our game of the week. Derek, you remember where that's from?
Oh yeah. That's the old NBC NBA music for the playoffs.
Yeah, only the real ones know that one.
Yeah, it's classic.
The Tribes fan, Rajai Davis, 16 World Series Game 7 game time blast. Or she didn't pull that out yet.
God, yeah,
that's definitely probably on the podium for me for all-time favorite home runs. I don't know. I loved that because in that moment it felt like the Cubs fans' suffering was going to continue for another century, right? And you're like, oh my God, this curse is real. This is actually happening right now. And it was Rajai Davis against Aroldis Chapman. He was one of the least likely players to hit a home run in that situation, and he came through. So I thought the Cubs were screwed after that happened.
That was hilarious. I forgot about that. P2W. I figured you knew the NBA music too. Let's get to the game of the week. And the game of the week is called What We Got in Common. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 4 names, and you have to come up with what they have all in common. They're all baseball related, so there's nothing out of left field or anything like that. And it's only one answer that I'm accepting. So if it's not the specific one, it does not count. And I have an emergency extra one if we need it. So we have 6, and then we'll have a 7th one if we have a tie. So everybody game?
Yeah.
So how this is going to work is I'm going to read them off, and then you just buzz in with your name and then your guess.
Okay.
All right.
So the first one, and if you guys don't get it, I'll give you some hints along the way too. First one, Corey, Jordan, Clark, and Garrett.
They're all Coopers?
Make sure you have to buzz in with your name, but that is incorrect.
Art. Art. Okay.
That is incorrect.
Eric,
Go ahead.
they're all Hearts?
No, incorrect. Doesn't mean they have the same last name. It could be something else. Doesn't have to. It's not limited to that. I'll let Derek get a guess, and then I'll give you guys a hint.
All right, well, I'll buzz in. I'll say, Derek, are they all Rockies?
No, but you're on the right track here. I'm going to give you their last names. So we have Jordan Montgomery, Clark Schmidt, Corey Kluber, Garrett Cole.
All right,
Derek.
they're all Yankees.
Derek, got it. All Yankees starting pitching. I'll count that. So Derek on the board with 1. Let's move to the next one here. And we have Derek, Ozzy, Barry, and Cal.
Eric,
Go ahead.
they're all second basemen.
Incorrect.
Art.
Go ahead.
They're all shortstops.
Not the answer I'm looking for.
Ah.
Well, Derek, they're all Hall of Famers.
Yes, Hall of Fame shortstops. There we go.
Yeah.
Derek on the board with 2 early.
You know what? I think about this now, and I just heard Ozzy. I was like, Ozzy Albies.
Ozzy Smith, man. Ozzy Smith.
I know. I thought more about it.
All right, this one I'll be impressed if you guys get this without the hint, but let's try this one. Barry, Mark, Sammy, Roger.
Art.
Go ahead.
60 home run seasons.
I'm looking for a little bit more specific than that.
Eric,
Go ahead.
they all had 60 home run seasons and were caught up in the steroid era.
No.
I don't think they're right here.
Way to take your shot though, Eric.
You know, I'm trying.
So I'll give you guys a hint that there would have been another guy on this list if it was 60 or more home runs.
Yeah. That Bambino would be on the list.
So there's a reason I picked these 4.
All right, so Derek, I'm going to say that each of those players was the single season home run leader at one point in time. They held that record.
That's a good guess, but that's not it either.
Do we get the hint now?
Well, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Roger Maris. I said that there would have been a 5th guy on here if it had been 60 or more home runs.
All right, I'm going to buzz in with Eric.
Go ahead.
They all hit 55 or more homers in a season.
You're
I'm going to lower the bar a little bit.
going in the wrong direction.
No, Art. They
ahead.
all had at least 61 home runs.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
I was trying to stick it with 4 names, so I was like, all right, I'm going to take the 60 off the list. They had each
Okay.
all had more than 60 home runs.
That's right.
Okay. So 2-1 and a big old goose egg for the doc.
Jeez, I suck at this game. I'll admit it.
Well, it's going to be between the both of them now. So next one we have another Derek, Albert, Adrian, Ichiro.
Eric,
Go ahead.
they all had more than 250 hits in a season.
That's not a bad guess, but that is not incorrect.
That's the nicest thing you've said to me today.
I know. Don't get used to it.
Gosh.
What do they have in common? That's good. That's a good one.
Art.
Go ahead.
They've all won a batting title.
Another good guess, but is incorrect.
How do I mash those two things together? Those were both good guesses. I don't have any good guesses.
We just laid the platter out for you, Derek. Come on.
So I'll give you their full names. Obviously, Derek Jeter, Albert Pujols, Adrian Beltre, Ichiro Suzuki. Eric, you talked about how they had 250 hits in a season, and that was incorrect. And Art, you said they each won a batting title. The stat has something to do with batting, and it's something to do with hits.
Eric,
Go ahead.
they both led the league in hits and batting average in a season.
It's what? No. I thought you were going to get
I
it.
like the process. You just combine the two answers. They did both at the same time.
Exactly.
I have another big hint that will give it away if you guys don't get it on this one.
Then it's going to be the quickest one who can buzz in. Y'all better take your shot.
Gosh. I'm looking. Oh, man.
I'll go Derek and say they all had 200 hits or more in their rookie seasons.
Ooh,
Incorrect.
That was good, though.
Art, I think they all have 3,000 career hits.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is
All
what
right,
I was
got
looking for.
Okay.
Adrian Beltre has 3,000 career
Yeah.
hits. Really?
These were 4 members. I picked 4 popular names. These are 4 names of the 3,000 club.
Good for him.
Yeah, especially usually hitters like him don't get that. So that is pretty good. All right, next one here. This is, I believe, this is number 5. I actually have 8 of them, but the 7 and then the emergency 8. So number 5, Frank, Mark, Paul, and Jermaine.
Eric.
Go ahead.
They're all Chicago White Sox.
Oh.
I'm going to give it to you. I was going to say White Sox on the World Series roster in 2005, but that's close enough. I'll give it to you.
Work.
I'm on the board, baby. I'm coming back. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
So wow. So it's 2-2 to 1.
This took a turn.
Yeah, it did. Way to ruin the game, Eric.
It's your job to get us back on track.
Next one. We have Joe, Tony, Bobby, and Terry.
Art.
Go ahead.
They're World Series winning managers.
It's a very good guess, but that's not what the thing I'm looking for is.
Okay.
I mean, I might as well just give it to you for that. I said famous baseball managers. They're 4 of the top 10 in wins. So,
okay.
Yeah,
but
that's a good answer.
I'll give that one. That's probably actually better than the one I wrote down for it. So I'll give that to you. All right, this next one, I will be impressed. This is number 7. If Eric, you are officially eliminated. If Derek gets this, then I have the emergency tiebreaker.
Okay.
Jose, Barry, Alex, and Alfonso.
Eric.
I know you knew it. Go ahead.
40-40 club, baby.
There you go. So I actually no, I think you can still tie now because it's 3-2 to 2.
Yep.
Do the
So
eighth one.
Yeah, we'll go to the last one. Johan, Justin, Jacob, and Max.
Eric.
Go ahead.
They've all won Cy Youngs.
That is not the answer I'm looking for.
But it is right.
No, this one it actually is not the exact answer I'm looking for, and there's a reason.
I'll say Derek. They all have thrown no hitters.
It's another guess, but no.
Art, they've had 250 strikeouts in a season?
No.
Can you say the names one more time? Johan, Justin, Jacob, and
Max.
Art, multiple Cy Young Award winners.
Give that man a steak. He's got it.
All right.
Yeah, Eric, you were close. They all have won a Cy Young, but these were 4 of the select list that have won multiple Cy Youngs.
Oh, so close, so close.
I thought you were going to fight your way back.
close.
Derek started out strong. So I thought Derek was just going to just sweep this whole game. And then Cheesecake slipped in there. So Cheesecake, you get your 15-second FaceTime to thank your fans, and then we're going to get Derek out of here.
I have, less than 200 followers on Twitter. So thanks to my fans. Derek, thank you for coming on. It was great to have you here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Why do they call you Cheesecake anyway? I haven't heard that story.
He's Little Cheesecake, actually. That's his full name.
That's it's my rap alter ego. I like to get into rap battles on the Twitter. No, actually, David found a tweet that I had where you were supposed to put Lil in front of the last thing you ate, and that was your rap name. So I was Lil Cheesecake, and he's like, "That's it. You're being called Lil Cheesecake on the show from now on." And it's been 10 months of that.
See, you haven't gotten tired of it yet.
I'm not tired now. It's cool.
It's good to have a nickname.
Yeah, Derek, man, really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. It was really fun being able to talk outfielders, joke around with you. Is there anything you would like to plug, or anything you're working on, any projects you would like to tell the audience?
Yeah, we're getting close to pretty much a full suite of our podcast being up and running again over at The Athletic. Rates and Barrels, the Athletic Fantasy Baseball podcast, and Fantasy Baseball, and 15 are the names of the shows. February 1st will be the first week that all the shows are running as though it's like regular season time. So check them out if you haven't already. I'm on Twitter at Derek Van Riper. You can see it on the screen if you're watching. Anything I write, anything I put out there for rankings, I share on there. So it's the easiest way to keep up with everything I'm doing.
And again, the smoothest voice in the business. I did not just say that when I was on the pod the other night, having to compare your voice to someone else's. You do got the smoothest one in the game, man. Really appreciate you bringing that voice on the show tonight. Make sure you guys tune in. We are going to be starting our starting pitcher previews, part 1 next week with Justin Mason. So make sure not to miss that show. Until then, everyone stay safe, wear a mask, and have a wonderful weekend. Catch you next week.